and my area of research uh, deals with developing AI methods for drug discovery. Okay, this is the broad outline of my thesis, and so I'm happy to conduct this session for you all, an introduction to data science. And if you have any questions during this session, let me know. Okay, I'll be happy to answer them. And yeah, I'm also comfortable with Tamil. So if you are comfortable in Tamil, you can also ask in Tamil. So no issues. Okay. So to begin with, how many of you are actually familiar with Python, the programming language, or any programming language in general? Can I get a show of hands? Okay, one, see one, two, okay, see three people. Okay, that is fine. Uh, Again, in this session, I'll only be giving a brief introduction. Okay, I won't be teaching the whole course in Python. So if you are aware, I mean, even C, C++, any programming language is fine. If you just understand the basics of programming, I think this session would go well. Okay, six. Okay, that is good. So I expect the six who raise their hands to answer my questions if I ask anything during the tutorial. Okay, so be prepared for it. Uh, yeah. Let me just share my screen. And also let me know after the session if you also need any slides for a reference. Right now, today, I only have a notebook. So if you need any slides, you can also make it and share it with you guys later. Okay. I hope my screen is visible. It is visible, right? Hello?
Yes, sir, visible, sir.
It's
Okay.
visible.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Um, so you see the interface here, right? This is called an integrated development environment. Okay. This is where you code, put your inputs, get your outputs, and so on. Okay. I mean, it's not much of a hassle to install these IDEs, but if you feel like, I mean, you don't have a good enough laptop configuration with you, or you don't need to install all these stuff, there is a very good alternative called Colab by Google. Okay. This will, I'll also put the link to Colab. Okay. How to access Colab, how to write, how to do coding in Colab and so on. But this is a very good resource by Google where you can work with Python notebooks. You don't need to install any additional thing. Python comes pre-installed. Okay. So, and you can open it in your web browser. You don't need to install anything locally in your system. Okay. This is called Colab. I'll show it at the end of the tutorial on how to access Colab. Okay. Okay. Moving on to Python basics. People who raise their hands, what is a variable? First of all, in programming, what is a variable? Anyone?
Sir, may I?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so basically, variable is something which is a container and it has two properties. One is it has a specific name and a value. And the value
Yes.
can be changed throughout the program based on the user requirement or a program requirement.
Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Thank you, sir.
Great. Yeah. So A here that I mentioned is a variable. This is the name of the variable, and I'm assigning a value of 9 to it. Okay. And this is the okay, and there are two different types of interfaces. Okay. One will be your Jupyter notebook. That's what we'll be dealing with throughout the course that we're going to teach. But there is another thing called Python scripts where you have a file. Okay, I'll show an example of the script later during the end. But the advantage of using a Jupyter notebook would be you can execute the code line by line. Okay, but whereas in a script you can't say like execute this part of the code. Okay, I want the output from this part of the code and so on. Okay, so we'll start with something called control statements. Okay, so I'm assigning a value of 9 to the variable name A. And there are two different control statements, if and else. So here I'm checking, okay, if A is greater than 10, and this is called a function, okay. Function is anything that takes in an input and gives you an output, okay. Here I've defined a print function, which is an inbuilt function in Python. So there are different inbuilt functions and functions that you define by yourself in two different categories. Okay. So this is an inbuilt function in Python. So other inbuilt functions might be len, which may give you the length of an object, and there are many different inbuilt functions. Okay. So here I'm checking if a is greater than 10. Okay. And let's take a simple print statement. Print a. Okay. This is what I get it as an output. This is my function. This is my input. This is my output. Okay. So what does this specific thing do? This is called string formatting. Okay. So if you put F before, and let's say is 10, for your convenience, you don't need to put 10 here. Okay. What you can do is, if you want the value of A, put curly brackets and do A. Okay. So it will automatically, if whatever variable is inside those curly braces, it will take in that value and print it. Okay. And type is another inbuilt function that gives you the data type of the variable. It can be an integer, 10 is an integer. It can be floating point. Okay. It can be string. Okay. These are the basic three types of data type that we'll be dealing with throughout the course. So an integer, floating point, and string. Okay. So you have the control statement here. What will be the output of this code block? Anyone? What will be the output of this control code block that I'm going to execute? So this checks whether A is greater than 10. If A is greater than 10, this part of the code will be executed. If it is less than 10, this part of the code will be executed. So I want the final output statement from this code block. What will it be? Anyone? Okay, so the output will be 9 is lesser than 10. Okay, this will be by output. And this specific thing that you do here is called indentation. Okay, after every control statement, you do an indentation and then write whatever code output that you want. Okay, clear? If you want to check for multiple conditions, okay, you have else if, else if, and else. So this is my statement. So what will be the output for this? What will be the output statement? My variable has a value 0. It checks for 3 different conditions. What will be the output here?
The number is 0.
Yes, correct. Okay, the number is 0. So these are about control statements. Okay. Then the next thing that we'll be looking at is called looping. Okay. So range is another built-in function that takes in a value. Okay. And it will, so the format is like this. Okay. So what I'm telling here is the range function is I'll start from 0, go up to the value of 10 in steps of 1. Okay. And I'll keep printing the value that is being returned by this function. Okay. So 0 to 10 in steps of 1. 0 to 10 in steps of 1. So what will be the output of this code block?
It will print 0 to 9.
Yes. So one more thing you have to remember is something called indexing, okay, and slicing, okay. So indexing in Python starts from 0. In some programming languages, it's 1, okay. Indexing means the first element, the first thing that I'm going to access. It starts with 0. It's not 1. There's one more thing you have to remember. And even though I specify 10, okay, it will be till the number before it. This is my starter, this is my ender, and this is my stepper. Okay, starter, ender, stepper. Okay, this is what you have to define in the range function. The default start will be 0 and the default step will be 1. Even though you don't specify 0, 10, and 1, it will print the same because the default start is 0, the default step is 1. And also you can loop through list. List is another data type where you can store different types of elements. Okay, let me just show you. It will print A. If you want to store 1, you can also store 1. If you want to store 2, it's true. Or if you want to store. So basically, this is a storage data type that we have. And also you can loop through this list. Okay. So this is my list here. What will it print here in this one? It will print A, B, C. That's it. If you put this one, it will be A, 1, true, and 1.5. Okay, this is the case. This, if it's square brackets, it's called a list. Okay, and there is another form of looping using the while statement. So it's I equals 10. I'm defining a variable called I. Here I'm checking if I is greater than 9 or not. If I is greater than 9, print I. What will be the output of this?
It will continuously keep on printing 10.
Okay. Why is that the case?
Because there is no terminating condition, because the condition is always getting satisfied. We are
Yeah.
not either reducing the value of I or incrementing it.
Yes. So if you start running, you'll keep running, and maybe in some time my system will also shut down. Okay. I don't
Yeah.
want that to happen, so I'm stopping it. What happens? One thing I can do is I can start incrementing the value. So it will only print it for still it's greater than 9. Okay. If you put while less than, let's say, 11, see, now I'm incrementing I, and it keeps checking whether it's less than 11 or not. It's less than 12, it will print 2. Okay. This is how you can keep modifying it. Okay. Or if you just wanted to run once, you can use the break statement where it will run once, print I, and break the flow. That's it. And there are two different another control statements called continue and pass. Okay. What will both of these control statements do? Continue meaning, so for I in range 10, okay, if I is greater than 5, continue meaning I won't execute this statement. Okay, I'll skip this part. I'll skip whatever is below continue. Okay, if I is greater than 5. Let me check. See, for I in range 10, I'll check if I is greater than 5. If it's not, if it's less than 5, I'll print I. If it's greater, continue meaning I will ignore whatever is below. Okay. But pass, what does it do? It won't ignore print. It will keep printing all the elements. So this is the difference between pass and continue. So at this point of time, you might think, I mean, where would all these come into the picture? Whether will I actually use these things or not? But when you are doing data structures and algorithms, these all come in very handy. Okay. So any doubts in control statements till now? Everyone understood what a variable is, what are data types, different data structures, list, different control statements, right? Any doubts? If you understood all these things, just raise your hand. Okay, I see some people raising their hands. Yeah. Okay, I think it will be better if I share this notebook also, I'll share this notebook. I'll tell you all how to upload it to Collab, work on it. Okay. You can keep modifying things here and there, keep working on it. Okay. So this is about control statements, variables, everything else in Python. Then moving on to functions. Okay. So, so this is how you define something called a function in Python. So here I am creating a custom function called add, which takes in two inputs, two variables as input, A and B, and it will return the sum of A and B. So what will be the output for this code block? What will be the output here?
Three, sir.
Yes, it is 3. Okay, one more interesting thing. What if it's so here I'm passing integers. Okay. What if I pass strings? What will be the output now?
It will simply concatenate two numbers and print
Yeah,
12.
yes, that is correct. Okay. It can also, so there is, you can also do addition on strings, which is just simple concatenation of two strings. Okay. Yeah, this is one thing. And also there are built-in functions, as I said, range, len, maximum, minimum, and so on. So this is test. I have a list like this, and I'm using the function called len to check how many elements are there in my list. What will be the output of this?
Will print 6.
Yep, it should print 6. Okay. Also, one more thing that comes in handy in Jupyter Notebook is you don't need to put print everywhere. Okay. By default, if you have the variable, it will automatically give you the output. Okay. This is one more easier way. And something else which we'll be using quite a lot during the course are different Python packages or modules. Okay. So there is a package called NumPy, there is a package called Pandas, there is called something called SciPy, and so on. So what does these packages actually contain or do? Anyone has any idea?
I think it has a pre-written codes, long functions. So we need not to type a code individually for all those things. We can just
Yes,
include them in a program and we can use that. So it will basically reduce the coding.
yes, that's correct. Okay. You don't need to custom implement all the functions that you want to write and everything. These are all they all have predefined functions that makes your lives easier. Okay. Then moving on to some object-oriented programming. Okay. So you're defining a class. Okay. The name of the class is called car, and I'm also having two different attributes called model and number. Okay. I'm running this code block. Okay. Defining car. If you want to check the attributes, model. Sorry, it's Maruti. So the car here is called an object, which I've defined using the class car. and it has certain attributes associated with it. Okay, you can change the attributes. Okay, like this, where you assign a different car model. Okay, these are things that you can do, and each class can also have a method associated with it. Okay, so this is the default method that you have called init. Okay, so it takes in two different arguments or inputs called model and number, and it will assign it. Self dot model means it will assign it as an attribute to the class car dot model number, and I'm defining another function. And you see everything starts with the keyword called self. Okay, self means it can refer to the own class by itself. Okay, so this is the function which will print the model and number. Okay, so I'm creating an object using the class car. My model is, see, my model is Toyota and the number is 1234. My model. And you can also access the specific method or a function from the object. Okay, if you run this, it will use this logic. It will print the model and the car number. Okay. And the another important concept in object-oriented programming is called inheritance. Okay. So this is my base class. Okay. Base class that you have. Car, two inputs, model number, model function that takes in the model. Okay. Here you are defining another class called engine, and inside it you're also specifying my base class is car. Okay. Again, engine, you have the init function called model engine. I'm initializing the attributes here, and I also have another method called mod engine. Okay, and the print statement is like this: the car model is self.mod num, that is self.model, and the number is self.engine. Okay, but as you can see, mod num it's not defined in engine class, but it is defined in the car class. So what inheritance does is you can access methods from your base class here. So what does this achieve? If you already have a base class defined somewhere else, you don't need to define the same modern function or method again here in engine. It can derive it, inherit it from the base class that you have put in here. Okay. So this is my engine model engine. I'm using the mod engine method. So what will be the output for this? Anyone? Look at this print statement carefully and let me know what will be the output here. Anyone? So you check how the flow is. Okay. Model is Toyota, engine is V6. You compare it with this specific code block and let me know what will be the output here is. One is,
We'll print the car model is Toyota and number is V6.
yes, it's the same. Okay, very simple. Okay, because the mod num takes in model and returns model. You're not doing any additional processing. But if you also type this, then wait, you put model plus something. Let's say I'm just putting high. See, now you can notice the difference. I'm not changing anything engine. I'm only changing it in the base class here. But due to inheritance, the output is also being changed. Okay. Okay. This is encapsulation in polymorphism. Think okay, I'm selling my, I mean, very similar. These are encapsulation. What you can do is there are some variables that you don't want to change. Okay. So you start the variable name by putting two underscores. So here I'm initializing it with a string called Toyota and I'm trying to change it to 1000. But if I run the function again, if my model is defined like this, okay, without two underscores, there's nothing called. See, it's changing. But if I put two underscores, I'm not able to change that. So this is something called protected attributes, where you set it to a default setting that you don't want to change. Okay, this is called encapsulation. And you also have polymorphism, where you define, so the base class already has an attribute called model, and in the you are changing it in the Maruti class to Maruti. Polymorphism means saving having the same attributes in different classes. Okay, but here since you changed it in the Maruti class, whatever is there in the car class will also get changed. So that's why I'm printing. I'm sending my Maruti car. Yeah. Okay. Any doubts in object-oriented programming? So you have functions, classes, methods, attributes. Okay. Again, I'll share the notebook. Everyone can play around with the notebook, change different attributes, different variables, see how everything works. That would be a very good exercise that you all can do. Okay. Any doubts in this? Okay, no doubts. Okay, moving on to the next topic, you'll be learning about NumPy and Pandas, two different packages or libraries that you are going to use throughout the course. Okay, so I'm creating a list, and this specific code block is something called a list comprehension. Okay, so based on this, what will be my test variable? What will it contain? Try reading this piece of code. Let me know what the output is. What should be the output? So I for I in range 10,000. Okay. Okay. Before moving on list comprehension, please for I in range Okay, 10. Okay, I'm defining an empty list. Okay, it's called. So again, the test is a list. It will have an inbuilt method called append. So it will keep adding whatever I it is getting from the for loop. So if I print test now, what will be the output? So what will be the
0 to
data type?
9.
Yeah, yeah. It will be from 0 to 9. It will be a list containing 10 elements. Okay, from 0 to 9. Similarly, it will contain so this okay, all these three combined together, I have written it like this. So it will contain all the numbers from 0 to 9999. Okay, see, these are all my numbers. This is a very comprehensive way of writing it. Okay, writing all these three together. And what I want to do is I want to add 10 to every element in this list. So I plus 10 for whatever element is there in test. Okay. And I'm seeing how much time it takes for me to run this specific thing. Let's see. It takes around 2 seconds. Okay. For adding 10 for each element. So if my test is like this, so it will be 0 plus 10, that will be 10. It will be 1 plus 10, that will be 11. So I'm doing this for each element in my list. But what if I want to speed this up? Okay, right now I'm only dealing with 10,000. What if I'm dealing with 10,000? I mean, more than 10,000, like in the range of millions. Yeah, that will become more time taking, right? So what I'm using is something called the NumPy package, which will make things faster. Okay, and the major data type you'll be dealing with in NumPy is called an array. Array is very similar to a list. Okay, let me see here. See, very similar, but it has some other attributes that you can use. You can check the shape, you can check the maximum value, you can check the minimum value. These are all methods and attributes that you don't have in the list. Okay, and you don't need to write this piece of code for you to add 10 to every element. You can treat this array as a single element, just add 10 to it. Okay. So compare 236 microseconds, here is 3.44. Okay. Takes a lot less time. Okay. And you don't need to add to every element. Okay. If you just write plus 10, it will all happen automatically. So this is what I call a vectorized operation. Vectorization. Okay. You get the idea here, right? NumPy is a collection of functions that you have that you can use, which will make your life easier. You don't need to write like this for every variable that you encounter with and so on. Okay. So NumPy is easier. Similar to range that you saw before, NumPy has a function called arange. Very similar to range, where you're creating it from 0 to 19. It has 20 elements. And you also have another function called linspace. This is my start, this is my end, and this is my step size. Very similar to range. And as you can see here, it will, what I want here is my start should be 20, my end should be 145, and I want 5 different elements. Okay. So it will automatically divide it into five equal intervals and give you the output here. This is the linspace function. So here it will be with intervals. Okay. This is with a step, and this is, so here you define the start and end and step. Okay. Here do you define what interval you want and how many elements that you want. This is the difference between the arrange and linspace. And as I said before, you have different attributes. Okay. You have shape, meaning how many elements that you have. Shape and size is same. Okay. I'll come to the next part later. How many dimensions? This is just a single dimension vector. So my number of dimensions is one. One more thing you can do is convert it into a matrix. Okay. So I have 5 rows, 4 columns, and you can reshape it. So everyone is familiar with some concepts of linear algebra, like vector, matrix, and so on. Anyone? Those are familiar with basics of vectors, matrices can raise their hands. Okay. Okay. Then we'll think about taking a linear algebra basics course also in the coming sessions. Okay. And again, you can square every element you have in your matrix. You can add two, and you can subtract the same array from another array, that will result in 0. And also you can create random matrices like this. Okay. So I'm saying the function to create 20 random elements. Okay. And I've created this. Okay. This is my array. And here we deal with indexing and slicing. Okay. Indexing means if I put square brackets next to an array and say 0, it means get me the first element in my array. Here it's 0, so I'm getting 0. If it's 2, it's 2. It's, you can also do a negative index. -1 meaning the last element. That is 19 in my array. It's -2. It is the one before 19. It will be 18. Okay. These are different types of indexing that you can do. And this is called slicing, where it will, so this means if you have a colon and if you put 3 here, it will mean that get me the first 3 elements. It will be from 0 to 3. It will be 0, 1, 2. I get the first 4 elements. And you can also mention I 1 to 4 means starting from the second element, get me 3 elements. So it will be 1, 2, 3. This is how slicing is done. And also you can put multiple indices. Let's say I want the second element, fifth element, and sixth element in my array. Okay. See, this is how you can do indexing. You can also check for conditions like we did before, whether every element in the array is greater than 5. It will return true or false. These are called your Boolean arrays. You can do matrix multiplication. So this will be element wise. This will be actual. So this is your dot product, and this is element wise matrix multiplication. These things will explain it in later classes. And you have some linear algebra functions like inverse, norm, dot, SVD. So these are things that you can explore later. Okay. Uh, Also, we'll float a form, okay, to get an idea of how many of you have basic knowledge of Python, linear algebra, probability, and everything. Okay, and based on that, we'll refine the course further. Okay, I'll share it in a while. Make sure that all of you fill the forms. Okay. Okay, and also I'll let you. I'll show how to use Collab. Okay. Yeah, I hope my screen is visible. Okay. So you go to your browser, type Collab. Okay, collab.research.google.com, and press click on new notebook. Okay, it's creating a new notebook for me, and you can start typing whatever code you want. Is 9. Will take some time for initializing, but will start running in a while. Okay, can, and if I'll share the notebook in a while. Uh, okay, let me just upload and put the link now itself. So you can upload file upload option to Python. Okay, the notebook is here. Share link. So I put the link in the chat box. You can access the notebook. I'll also create a drive folder where I can share all the notes, code, and everything. Okay. So if you have any doubts, you can ask now. Uh, it need not be Python in general. You can ask about research, studies, anything would also work. How to get into data science and everything. I hope Neerav's lecture yesterday gave a good introduction on data analytics, data science, and everything. So we have few more minutes in the class. We can interact. Yeah. தமிழ்லயும் பேசலாம். So பிரச்சனை இல்ல. Yeah. Any feedback for this particular session? Was it too fast, too slow, or do you need more resources? You can speak up, put it in chat. Anything works.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I'm E. Lekashri from Queen Mary's College.
Yes.
So I'm doing MSc in zoology.
Okay.
So we have not studied these topics even from our higher secondary
Mhm.
also. So these topics are new to us, and
Okay.
how we can learn these data science and get a job, sir.
Okay. Okay. So to be honest, I was also a biotechnology student in my bachelor's. Okay. I didn't have any idea about computer science in general. My experience would be keep working on it daily. Okay. That's the advice I can give right now. And you have the notebooks with you. You don't need to take any paid courses as such. Okay. Everything is available online. You have a lot of resources online. And the only thing I would suggest is if you just look through the notebook, you won't understand anything. Try to change stuff a bit, see how it works behind the scenes, where you're making an error, and so on. Okay. And okay, getting a job in data science. So getting a job in data science would be, I mean, you can work on your programming skills. Okay, that would be that anyone can do. Working on programming skills, implement a model in Python that I think anyone can do it within a few weeks or something. But people should also understand a little bit of theory behind why we do this and why we are not doing that and so on. Okay. I hope after this course you'll be able to do it. Okay. But whatever notebooks I share, whatever slides I share it with you all, just go through it daily. I mean, spend at least half an hour a day going through these notebooks. You run everything by yourself. Don't just look through the notebook. Change things. And this is the thing I would suggest. I mean, for myself, I was also from a biotechnology background in my bachelor's. I worked on it daily, and it took me
Yes,
almost
sir. That's what I'm
three, four
saying. We are
months.
from a science background,
Yeah,
so we have no knowledge about programming and
yeah,
all. So that's why I asked, sir.
yeah. I mean, it took me
Thank you,
like
sir.
3, 4 months just getting the basics right. And
So we have to just
and
practice every day to
yeah,
learn these. Okay,
yes.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. I hope I'm not too fast. Okay. I explained all the concepts. I'll also share a feedback form later. So be sure to fill that up. If you don't
Okay,
have,
sir.
yeah, if you don't have any questions, we can end it for today. I kindly request you all to work through the notebook. Okay. Or else the coming classes will become more and more difficult for you to understand. Okay. Yeah. Okay then. No more doubts. Then we can close the session. Thank you all. Thank you all for joining. See you all tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. I take this privilege to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of the Department of Computer Applications, Sri Meenakshi Government Arts College, to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Roshan sir for conducting this enlightening session on Python programming. The session was truly informative and essential. The hands on exercise and interactive approach made the learning experience even more impactful. Thank you, sir. I would like to express my gratitude to all the participants for their active involvement and enthusiasm during the session. Once again, thank you all.
Thank you for letting us teach this course.